Thousands of Russian soldiers woke up this morning trapped, surrounded, with no way out, no supply lines, no escape route, and Moscow isn't sending help. Not because they can't, because they've already lost the ability to. And the country that did this to them isn't Ukraine. It isn't NATO. It's a nation of just 2.6 million people that most people couldn't find on a map 2 years ago. What Moldova just did to Putin is so strategically precise, so quietly devastating, that military analysts are calling it one of the most elegant geopolitical traps in modern European history. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes you're going to understand exactly how a small country just broke Russia's spine in Eastern Europe without firing a single shot. Drop a comment right now. Did you even know Moldova was capable of this? Because most people had no idea this was coming. On April 8, 2026, Moldovan President Maia Sandu signed into law the country's formal withdrawal from the Commonwealth of Independent States, the CIS. Now, if that sounds like bureaucratic paperwork to you, stop. Because this single signature didn't just end a diplomatic relationship. It surgically removed the last legal cover Russia had to keep its military forces inside Moldovan territory. Overnight, approximately 1,500 Russian soldiers stationed in the breakaway region of Transnistria went from peacekeepers, their official title for over 3 decades, to illegal occupying forces violating international law. No legal framework, no diplomatic shield, no right to be there. Just men with guns on territory that no longer recognizes their existence. And here's the part that should genuinely shock you. The majority of those 1,500 soldiers have never even set foot in Russia. They are mostly local men who were handed Russian passports and told they were now part of Moscow's elite military presence in the region. Russia built its iron grip in Transnistria not with genuine military power, but with paperwork and manipulation. And now, even that illusion has been stripped away. If you're following this story, share this with someone who needs to understand what's actually happening in Eastern Europe right now. Moldova didn't stop at the CIS withdrawal. Chisinau declared the entire command structure of the Russian operational group in Transnistria persona non grata, meaning Russian military commanders are now legally banned from stepping into any Moldova-controlled territory. The moment any one of them crosses the line, they get deported. Immediately. No negotiation. No diplomatic grace period. This move severed Moscow's chain of command on the ground completely. Russia can no longer issue orders, rotate personnel, or move supplies into Transnistria through Moldova. Ukraine controls the eastern border. Moldova controls the west. The sky is closed. The roads are closed. Those soldiers are sealed in. Now here is where this story goes from serious to genuinely terrifying. And this is the detail that most major outlets are burying. Underneath the feet of those trapped Russian soldiers sits the Kobazna ammunition depot. This facility has been sitting in Transnistria since the Soviet Union collapsed. According to international security estimates, it holds approximately 20,000 tons of ammunition, artillery shells, tank rounds, millions of cartridges, all left behind by the Soviet 14th Army after it pulled out of East Germany and Czechoslovakia at the end of the Cold War. International inspectors from the OSCE have been physically blocked from accessing this site for years. And here is the number that keeps defense analysts awake at night. 57% of that ammunition has already exceeded its operational shelf life. Decaying, unstable, sitting in warehouses with no proper maintenance, no secure oversight, and now no clear chain of authority. If this depot ever catastrophically detonates, the explosion radius and environmental contamination could rival a tactical nuclear event. And Russia, the country that has been claiming custodianship of this site for decades, now has zero ability to manage, secure, or even reach it. This is not a footnote. This is a live crisis sitting at the heart of Eastern Europe. But Putin's nightmare doesn't end with Transnistria, because Moldova isn't just escaping Russia's orbit. It's accelerating toward Europe at a speed that is genuinely alarming the Kremlin. The Sandu administration has already integrated Moldova into Europe's energy grid, neutralizing Russia's most reliable weapon, the gas valve. When Moscow threatened to cut off natural gas, a move that brought previous Moldovan governments to their knees, Chisinau shrugged. The weapon was already disarmed. Moldova is now ranked as the fastest advancing candidate in the entire EU enlargement process. Brussels isn't just watching Moldova, it's actively investing billions of euros into the country's military modernization, cybersecurity infrastructure, and institutional reform. Russia spent 30 years building leverage in Moldova. The EU is dismantling it systematically, sector by sector, and Moldova is letting it happen with both hands open. Here is the piece of this story that is reshaping the entire map of Europe, and you need to understand its scale. Moldovan President Maia Sandu has publicly stated she would vote yes to unification with Romania in a referendum. Read that again, not quietly hinted, publicly declared. Romania is a full NATO member. If Moldova and Romania formally unify, and the infrastructure, the highways, the energy lines, the military cooperation between the two countries are already being built right now, as if that decision has already been made, then every square kilometer of current Moldovan territory automatically falls under NATO's Article 5 protection, instantly. Those 2,500 Russian soldiers trapped in Transnistria would no longer be facing Moldova's national army. They would be encircled by the full operational reach of the most powerful military alliance on Earth, F-16s overhead, Patriot missile systems on the ground, NATO radar networks tracking every breath. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has already called this a destructive plan that will destroy the Moldovan state. That reaction alone tells you everything about how seriously Moscow is taking it. When Lavrov panics publicly, the Kremlin is terrified privately. Russia has no logistical capacity left to reinforce Transnistria. Kyrylo Budanov, head of Ukrainian military intelligence, confirmed it directly. The Russian contingent there is weak, isolated, and physically impossible to reinforce. Sergei Shoigu, secretary of Russia's Security Council, came out with threats. Lives of Russian citizens at risk. Moldova is squeezing Russian troops. All necessary measures will be used. But military analysts across Europe agree. These are the words of a government that has already lost the position and knows it. Russia is not going to launch a military operation to rescue 1,500 soldiers it built out of local passport holders in a landlocked pocket with no air access, no land corridor, and NATO potentially weeks away from absorbing the entire border. The threats are loud because the options are gone. What we are watching in real time is the surgical dismantling of Russia's last functioning power lever in Eastern Europe. Moldova, a country that Russia assumed would always be too small, too poor, and too scared to resist, just executed a geopolitical strategy that took years to build and landed with devastating precision. The CIS withdrawal didn't just end a membership. It collapsed an entire architecture of Russian influence that took 3 decades to construct. Transnistria is no longer a Russian stronghold. It is a sealed container holding trapped men, decaying weapons, and a dying separatist economy that can no longer receive gas, funding, or political air from Moscow. The young are leaving. The economy is collapsing. The only thing propping it up is inertia, and even that is running out. The map of Eastern Europe is being redrawn, not with bombs, with signatures, energy grids, legal frameworks, and the quiet, unstoppable logic of integration. And Russia, for all its nuclear posturing, all its hybrid warfare, all its decades of careful positioning, is watching it happen with no move left to make. So here is the question I want you to sit with. If a country of 2.6 million people just cornered a nuclear superpower using diplomacy, law, and European integration, what does that tell us about where real power actually lives in the 21st century? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and I respond daily, not weekly, daily, because this story is moving fast and you deserve real-time analysis, not yesterday's news. And if you want to keep getting this level of breakdown on the stories that actually matter, the ones most channels won't go this deep on, subscribing takes 2 seconds, and it means you never miss what's coming next. This one is far from over.